It was a rainy Saturday afternoon when my husband, Jack, called me from his friend Mike's place. "Hey babe," he said casually. "I'm heading home with the guys, Mike, Chris, and Tony. We've got a game night planned. Hope that's okay." I looked around the living room. It was a bit of a mess from the morning rush with our two kids, but I figured I had just enough time to clean up and throw together some snacks. "Sure," I said, already moving toward the kitchen. "See you soon." When the doorbell rang 40 minutes later, I was ready. The house looked decent, the kids were upstairs watching a movie, and I had laid out chips, salsa, wings, and soda. I opened the door with a warm smile. "Come on in," I said, welcoming all three of Jack's friends. Mike was the first to step inside, tall and charming as always, carrying a bag of board games. Chris followed, the quiet one with a mischievous grin, and finally Tony, the loudest of the bunch, already laughing about something I hadn't even heard. Jack came in last, drenched slightly from the rain. He gave me a quick kiss and thanked me for setting things up. I could tell he was excited about the evening, and I was happy to see him relaxed after a stressful week at work. As the guys settled into the living room, I brought out the snacks and drinks. They cheered like kids on Christmas morning, which made me laugh. "You guys act like you haven't eaten in days," I teased. Tony looked up with mock seriousness. "That's because Jack's been telling us how amazing your wings are all week." I chuckled and waved him off. "Well, eat up. I'm going to head upstairs and check on the kids." Just as I turned to leave, Mike called out, "Hey Lisa, you ever play Settlers of Catan?" Paused and turned around. "Once or twice." "Why?" He lifted the box from his bag. "We need a fourth player. Just for the first round. Please." I hesitated. I hadn't planned to be part of game night. I figured it was their time to catch up and unwind. But the way they all looked at me, hopeful and playful, made me smile. "Okay, fine. But only one round," I said, walking back and sitting down at the table. That one round turned into 2. Then 3. Before I knew it, we were laughing so hard that my stomach hurt. I hadn't had this much fun in a long time. Jack leaned over and whispered, "You're stealing the show." I grinned. "Maybe you guys just need to up your game." At one point, Chris knocked over his soda. It splashed across the table onto the carpet, and everyone jumped to clean it. I rushed into the kitchen, grabbed some paper towels, and by the time I returned, the guys had already flipped the board upside down trying to save it. It was pure chaos, but somehow it made the night even better. After cleaning up, Tony suggested we take a break and put on a movie. Jack looked at me. "Want to hang out a little longer?" I glanced at the clock. It was almost 9:30, and the kids were already asleep. "Sure," I said, surprising even myself. We moved to the couch, and they put on an old comedy. Jack sat beside me with his arm around my shoulders, and the others sprawled out across the room like they'd done this 100 times before. It felt like college again, carefree, warm, and filled with laughter. About halfway through the movie, the power flickered and went out. Tony groaned. "Are you serious?" Jack got up and checked the window. The whole neighborhood was dark. A storm must have knocked something out. "I'll check the breaker," he said, grabbing a flashlight. While he disappeared into the basement, I lit a few candles from the cabinet. The warm glow filled the room with a cozy calm. Chris and Mike helped me move the snacks to the coffee table, and we all sat down again, laughing about the sudden blackout. "This is kind of perfect," Mike said. "Reminds me of when we used to go camping. Except now we have buffalo wings and scented candles instead of marshmallows and bug spray," I added, and they burst out laughing. Jack came back a few minutes later, shaking his head. "It's not the breaker. Probably the whole block's out." We decided to wait it out. In the soft candlelight, conversation flowed more freely. Stories about their high school days, awkward dates, crazy road trips. Even Jack shared stories I hadn't heard before, and I found myself leaning in, fascinated. Eventually, Tony asked me what it was like living with 3 Jacks, referring to our 2 boys and my husband. I laughed. "It's loud, messy, but I wouldn't trade it for the world." Mike nodded. "You're a good mom, Lisa. And an even better host." The compliment caught me off guard. "Thanks," I said, feeling a little blush rise to my cheeks. By midnight, the power still hadn't returned, and everyone decided to crash at our place rather than drive home in the storm. We didn't have guest beds for everyone, but we brought out sleeping bags, extra pillows and blankets. Jack whispered, "You sure you're okay with this?" "Of course," I replied. "It's like an unexpected slumber party." The next morning I woke up early to make pancakes and bacon. The guys trickled into the kitchen one by one, groggy but smiling. Tony bowed dramatically. "Queen Lisa, you've earned a lifetime membership to game night," Mike added, "and breakfast night." As we sat down to eat, Chris lifted his coffee mug. "To the best game night we've ever had, courtesy of Lisa." They all cheered and Jack beamed with pride. I smiled back, touched by the unexpected turn the evening had taken. Later that afternoon, as they packed up to leave, each one thanked me personally. Mike gave me a quick hug. "Thanks again. That was one for the books." After they left, Jack and I stood by the door, watching their cars disappear down the street. He turned to me and said, "You really saved the night, you know." "I just welcomed them in," I said with a shrug. Jack looked at me with admiration. "Yeah, but you made them feel at home. That's not something everyone can do." In the days that followed, each of them sent me a thank you message. Mike even dropped off flowers a week later with a note that read, "Next time, bring your A-game. We're coming for your title." I realized then that sometimes the best moments are the ones you never planned. Welcoming those 3 friends inside brought more than just an evening of fun. It reminded me of the joy in connection, in laughter, and in making people feel at home. What happened next wasn't some crazy, dramatic event. It was something even more powerful. It was friendship, laughter, and the warmth of a night that none of us would ever forget.